Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. You are watching Felicia Finish the Book and I am Felicia. Today we are going to be talking about November nonfiction month, or is it nonfiction November? Okay, either way, this is my first time participating and I am extremely excited but overwhelmed but up for the challenge. And I'm kind of, I'm reading books and reading books that aren't nonfiction, but at the same time I'm just thinking to myself, I could do this, I could do this, I could do anything that I put my mind to. You got this, you read, let's read. So let's talk about the books that I am going to be reading. And just in case you are unfamiliar with the nonfiction November month, which I totally was until how did I find out? I think I was watching a video from 2018 and then I typed in nonfiction November and then multiple videos came up, and then I went to the person who is actually the creator of nonfiction November and I decided that I wanted to participate. If you are not familiar with nonfiction November, it is a reading initiative, a month-long reading initiative that was created by Olive from ABookOlive. That's her channel, so I'll link her down below. Olive gives us 4 topics within the nonfiction genre that we have to stick to. And number 1 is design. Number 2 is sport. Number 3 is true, and number 4 is voice. I have 4 books that I'm going to be reading. I'm going to go ahead and tackle all 4 of the topics for the challenge, or the 4 challenges. So let's get into it. Okay, so for design, I chose It's Not How Good You Are, It's How Good You Want to Be. And this is by Paul Arden. Paul Arden is an advertising guru. He's known within the advertising world. And this is a book that is it's kind of a business improvement book, if you will. So I'll read you kind of like a little bit of, I'll read you a paragraph from here. So it says, just as Sun Tzu's Art of War is read as a lesson in business strategy rather than fighting in a military sense, or Machiavelli's The Prince is written about government but used as a guide to management, so this book uses the creative processes of good advertising as a metaphor for business practice. So I guess I should have said business practice. So this book is about business practices and what you can do to, well, I've read a lot of it already. I'm on page 76. And what I get out of the book is it's basically it's for development. It's for you to develop yourself within your career. So it's a career development book. However, I feel like you can apply it to more things than just your career. So it's very motivating and inspiring. So like, it talks about not making excuses. It talks about you taking responsibility for things. One of the ideas that's articulated in this book is it's wrong to always be right. Being right is based off of past experience. But in this day, if it's a new current situation, then what you did to perfect or resolve a problem before, it may not be best suited to this current situation. Like, it may not fit. So you have to be open to new ideas. But if you feel like you're always right because of your previous experience and your previous knowledge based on an experience that happened in the past, that may not be applicable to what's happening right now. So it's okay to be wrong, because then that opens you up to more ideas. Now, I don't think that that's applicable for every situation, but I thought that it was really, really interesting, and I had never heard anything articulated that way. So that was just really interesting for me when I was reading that last night. I love this book specifically because of the design. I am a graphic design student. I'm going back to school for graphic design, and I'm just really artsy. I love the arts, and I just love most things art related. And so when I looked at this book and I realized that it was a book that was from an advertising guru, I was really excited to read it. I was really intrigued. I was a lot more intrigued to go ahead and read it. And I've worked in advertising before, so that also interests me. And So when you like open the book, you see like graphic design, really, like illustrations and headlines, and it's really interesting. If you're into graphic design and headlines and just art in general, you just see it's a really beautifully illustrated book. So it's a gorgeous book. I love it. I just love that it's based in advertising. So yeah, if you're into branding and advertising and graphic design and design, I think that you would find this to be a very interesting read. I love this book already, more so for the design. I mean, it articulates a lot. It expresses and articulates a lot of ideas that I know, but there are some nuggets in here. There are definitely some golden nuggets in here, and I'm gonna keep continuing to read, but it definitely opens my mind up for the field that I'm in and just how to navigate that space. So I'm definitely excited to finish this book. Olive discussed in her video that although there are 4 challenges, it's really up to our interpretation of how we want to select our books. For sport, I decided to read Cal Newport's Deep Work. Cal Newport is someone who encourages us to practice digital minimalism, where we eliminate a lot of our social media distractions and instant technology distractions so that we can focus more on deep work and the things that are important and things that are going to help move us further in our careers. His definition of deep work is professional activities performed in a state of distraction-free concentration that push your cognitive capabilities to their limit. These efforts create new value, improve your skill, and are hard to replicate. But then he also says to master a cognitively demanding task requires this specific form of practice. There are few exceptions made for natural talent. So when I think about this, I equate that to sport, because sport is something that you have to develop over time. It's a skill, and you have to put a lot of your attention and focus on it, and you can't be distracted by other things. There are people who take months at a time to really develop their bodies and to really develop their skills within a sport. And he talks about this not necessarily being a habit, but it's actually a skill that you have to learn. And the more and more you do it, the better you are able to develop it, and then you're able to do it long term. And it makes me think about someone who's involved in sports. When I think about that, I think about my nephew and how long he's trained. He's trained for several years now, and each year he's gotten better and better and better over time with his body, with his stamina, with his endurance, with just his performance. And so I am able to marry those two thoughts together when I think of deep work and sport. So yeah, this is what I chose for sport. And it's a really interesting read. I've been reading this since like the ending part of October, and like the last end of October, like the last end, and I'm just really excited to keep diving in because I'm only on page 36, and my goal is to be finished with this by the end of November. Next challenge on the list is True, and I decided to read Real Artists Don't Starve: Timeless Strategies for Thriving in the New Creative Age by Jeff Goings. He's the best-selling author of The Art of Work. I chose this book because when I think of true, I think of real. And real means true, so why not read Real Artists Don't Starve? I'm also really interested to read this book because I consider myself an artist, and so this book is all about encouraging you to live your dreams and work in your passions and be an artist, but don't stay broke or don't starve trying to do that. In this book, the author gives several examples of past artists who were able to create their art but then also live a wealthy life. And one of the examples he gives is Michelangelo. So we were under the impression that he didn't have any money, but that's not true. He actually just lived a very modest life, and he concealed the fact that he had wealth, and it was later found out that he actually had accumulated a extreme amount of wealth, and so he was not a starving artist. So that is pretty much what this book discusses, and I thought that that was just intriguing for me because, you know, again, I consider myself an artist, and to know that there are examples and stories of people who actually lived a life of artistry but did not starve in order to do that and to live the life that they wanted is just really inspiring. So definitely want to get to this. This is my third time checking this book out. It gives me I'm glad I took on this challenge because it gives me a reason to make sure I finish these books, because this book was just sitting in a pile and I just looked at it like 700 times, and I checked it out twice. And then this was, after I realized that I was going to do this November, Nonfiction November month, I said, you know what, I'm going to check it out a third time. I'm going to check it in though, and then check it out, and then I'm really going to read it this time. And it's only, my goodness, it's only like 200 pages. Okay, wait, a little bit more. 203. Like, I should be able to get through this, right? I should be able to finish this book. And then the last book that I have for the last challenge is Voice, and I have Paco Underhill's What Women Want, the Global Market Turns Female Friendly. And I thought that this was important to read for Voice because in this book, Paco Underhill is advocating for women, and he talks about how women influence most of what brands are creating for consumers to buy. And through market research, he's found that the target audience is women because we're doing most of the buying based on how we've sort of kind of stepped up to the forefront when it comes to industry and being you know, we're advancing in education, we're advancing in our professions, we're advancing in the industry, you know, we're working mother, well, I'm not a mom, but you know, a lot of women are working mothers, and they're doing so much. They're multi-talented, multifaceted, and just working away. And so he talks about how we are an important factor in what brands produce and how important that is for our future. And he just gives examples. There's a lot of market research. It's pretty data driven on, you know, what the information that's in here. I'm not gonna lie, I started it on Sunday. I'm not saying there's good information in here. The introduction was amazing, but then it got really boring, and I was just thinking to myself, how do I finish? How do I finish? I wanted to say, how do I live without you? But how do I live with you for the next 25 days? How do I live with you for the next 25 days? Really, that's really what I want to know. Can you tell me? Do you have the answers? Sway, do you have the answers? In addition to those books, I do plan to get to a few fiction books as well. At least I hope to. This is my first time participating in a reading initiative like this. It's also my first time trying to read 4 different topics, or yeah, 4 different topics / genres, if you will. If you're participating in Nonfiction November, then please let me know what you're reading down in the comment section. If you've read any of these books, then let me know if you enjoyed them down in the comment section, or if you didn't enjoy them. You know, this is a book discussion. So yeah, and I have just been binge watching all of the Nonfiction November TBR. So I'm just like, I'm excited to check in midway and see how people are doing on their on their reading initiative or the readathon. And then I'm also excited to check in. I know I've been vlogging, and so I've been talking about my thoughts with the book. So yeah, that's that. So thank you so much for watching. If you're not a subscriber, subscribe so you can see more videos like this, and don't forget to finish that book. Bye.